Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Thrifting with Joy W. Style. I'm Joy Wansley, your style curator, and today we're going to talk about the 5 key things you need to know when you go into a thrift store. Now, I know it can be very overwhelming, but the first thing that you need to know, and this is going to be your best friend, is to have a measuring tape. I was going to call it a measuring stick, but it is a measuring tape. Make sure you take this with you. Know your measurements. First of all, you want to make sure you know your shoulder to shoulder. You want to know your pit to pit. Make sure you know your natural waist. And you want to know your hips as well. And for pants, you want to make sure that you know your inseam, which is from your crotch down to your ankle, and then your rise, which is from your natural waist down to your crotch. So make sure you know those measurements because it helps when you go to a thrift store or if you're buying from a vintage or a thrift reseller. I always take mine with me. I either have it around my neck or I have it in my purse or my tote bag. Next, when you go into a thrift store, I get so overwhelmed in some thrift stores. I mean, I've been doing it for years, but the thing I know that everybody needs to have is patience. Make sure you have lots of patience when you go into a thrift store. It can be a lot because you see things hanging from the rafters sometimes, from the ceiling down to the floor, underneath tables, in boxes. For some people, it's the thrill of the hunt. For other people, it makes them feel like I'm going to spaz out any minute, but that's okay. You want to make sure that you are calm, cool, and collected. You're dressed appropriately, something easy so that you can try on things if there's not a fitting room. I always say t-shirts and leggings is the perfect ensemble when you go to a thrift store. So patience is a key. It really does pay off. Next up, when you are shopping, I always say grab an item. And when you look at it, make sure you look at it in the natural lighting. You want to make sure there are no holes in it because you're checking for quality. So you want to make sure that if you're looking at something like this is a vintage, gorgeous vintage piece, it has seed pearls all over it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if there are any holes in it, first of all. Then if it's missing any beading. Where you might see the beading mostly might be around the neck because that rubs the neck and the collarbone. This is missing a few pieces, but it's not too bad. It's not overwhelming. You also want to make sure that if it is a vintage piece that you check the lining. Does the lining have any holes, moth holes, or anything in it? I love looking for natural fibers, fabrics when I go to thrift stores such as cotton and silk and wool because I know those fabrics will stand the test of time. So something like this, you want to check the shoulder pads. Are they easily able to come out or are they sewn in? Things like that you want to check for. So quality is very important. When you check the inside to see if there's deodorant on the armholes, it tells you that it wasn't clean, but is that an easy fix? For some people, that might be the deal breaker. But you always want to check the quality of the garments when you are going into a thrift store. Make sure it is clean, make sure that there are no holes, and that if it's something that could be an easy fix with some vintage pieces, depending on the brand, you may want to give it a nice hand wash and then sit it out in the sunlight to kill any germs or bacteria. I always tell people to do that. Also, you want to make sure that when you are looking at vintage pieces, it may say a large, but vintage large and modern day larges are not the same. That's when the trusty measuring tape comes handy. You want to make sure that you do make the measurements. If you like it, take the measurements and compare that to the measurements that you already know about yourself. I always say that vintage runs about 2 sizes smaller than the modern sizing. So if it's a size large, it may fit like a size small or an extra small. I know it can be frustrating at times, but It's better to know then before you get to the checkout than to buy it, get home, and be like, oh, I can't wait to wear it, and it doesn't fit. Then you have to give it to somebody else. And I'm sure they'd be happy to have it. But you always want to make sure you take the measurements of the pieces that you purchase, because they vary through brands as well as through eras. Some brands, if they're designer brands, their sizes do run smaller. So you always want to make sure that you are measuring. The next thing you want to think about when you're going thrift store shopping is the versatility. Don't forget that when you go into a thrift store, you become an instant fashionista, designer, whatever you want to call it. So it's all about mixing prints, mixing fabrics, mixing eras. My favorite thing is to mix camo. And you can mix camouflage pieces, whether it's a blazer or whether it's pants or a skirt, but you can mix it with anything that's dressy or casual. These are one of my favorite pairs of modern day camo pants, and they're not a genuine camo. These are like, I don't know, they're a different type of brand, but they're not military. But military ones are nice too, and they have the drawstring and all the cargo pockets. It's fantastic. With this here blazer, which is a beautiful tweed, it is a fantastic complement to the camo. Think of camo as a nice base, like a solid. Think of it like black or khaki, but think of it as a solid, but you can mix and match it with any type of print, any type of tweed or plaid. It just gives it a little bit of an edgy appeal. Now you can add a boot with this pant set, or you could add like a little kitten heel or an ankle strap to make it look a little bit more fancy. And what did I do with this blazer? I added some beading to the shoulder just to give it a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of joy. And that makes it a little bit more fun, right? Next up, I always add a cool sweater when the season change, because the camo is seasonless. So you can add an argyle sweater with the camo pants, and it gives it a little bit of a wintry appeal. So that is one of the things that I like to do when I go thrifting. Also, when I pick out a piece, I always think about, what can I wear this with? Can I dress it up? Can I dress it down? Is it seasonless? Can I wear it year round? Because it's about the investment in the piece. I want it to last a little bit longer, kind of stretch, but I want it to go around and mix with other pieces that I have in my wardrobe. So with that said, you want to make sure that you are up to date with what's on trend, what is on the runways. Can you get the same look at a thrift store? Absolutely, you can do that. I always do that. I always scan all of the thrift stores when the fashion shows like Fashion Week comes out, and I look to see what is on trend and how can I find, or what can I find in a thrift store. You're most likely going to find something from maybe 20, maybe 10 years ago, because fashion is circular. It always comes back around. So you want to make fashion fun. So mix your prints, mix your eras, and just have fun with it. So what did we learn today? We learned that you have to have patience. You have to do a quality check of what's on the fabric, or what's in the fabric, because you never know what you might find. Check the pockets as well. You also want to check the hemlines as well as underneath the collars, because you don't want things to fall apart. Also, the versatility of mixing prints is always a plus, because you get more wear out of your wardrobe. Make sure you take your measurements and always be on trend for what's in style, because you can always find something in a thrift store, a consignment shop, a flea market. You be you, have fun. If it makes you feel good, vibrant, and dynamic, why not? Just have fun and enjoy. So this is Joy W Style signing off. I will see you next time right here on DTR TV. Bye for now.